Hey, you want to see me beat a dead horse with a Two Brothers pipe? Oh, you do? And that's basically how I felt when I read all the suggestions to cover lane splitting and other NYC road topics, because I run my mouth a lot, and as a New Yorker, I can't go more than 6.5 seconds without telling any sentient life form about how bad our traffic is. Hell, I had deleted a video on the topic just last year because I thought it was a bit much. But a deal is a deal, and like an elected official, I will begrudgingly put aside the vast amounts of hookers and blow and serve those who served me. So without further ado, let's talk about this once again. But first, a little role play, cause Lord knows we need to spice up this relationship. Imagine you're on your greasy bike on the FDR drive during rush hour. Because of your totally legal 575-day grace period, your bike isn't inspected, and the place that the sticker would be haphazardly slapped on is actually covered in fork juice because your seal is blown harder than every single fuse on the YZF when I would turn the key. It's summer, you're sweaty. Your bike is damn near boiling the coolant, and your clutch hand feels worse than that of a pro fighting gamer. But I'm on a bike. Why can't I just go around? I make you imagine this, and I bet the Cali guys are pointing and laughing at us because the only thing they gotta worry about is getting the sun in their pretty little eyes. The short version of this video is the one where I say, please make lane splitting legal. The long version, which is the one you're getting, is the video where I try to advance our non-existent motorcycle lobby and appeal to entirely out-of-touch policymakers with some asterisks. The first question to ask is, what is lane splitting? As well as what are the other two lane position maneuvers that tend to get lumped in with it. Lane filtering and lane sharing. They have some very important distinctions to note. So lane sharing is probably the least offensive of the three, and it's simply where you have two riders riding next to each other in the same lane. That's the official terminology for that maneuver. But lane sharing has kind of evolved to also mean lane splitting in most people's minds. Really, all it is a staggered riding formation that we all have to use when we're riding in groups, where we allow a full lateral movement of any given bike, even though the same lane is being used at once, and also at relatively close proximity. The technical term for this is actually riding two abreast. Now, a law governing the ability for two riders to ride next to each other is also governed on a state-by-state basis, but generally speaking, it's often handled as such. Motorcycles can use a full lane and can ride two abreast in a single lane, but cannot ride abreast of another vehicle in the same lane. I gotta grow up. They also cannot ride between lanes or between traffic and parked cars. Generally, the more explicit side of the codes will clearly state that cars cannot ride directly next to bikes. So imagine you're on a highway and just not going fast enough for the Neanderthal and the Honda Civic behind you on your Honda Monkey. The Civic can't just use the lane that you're in to overtake you, or in the case of traffic, he can't simply drive directly next to you just because he fits and he wants to gain a position. He has to signal, change lanes, and then pass you safely. Here's section 1252 of Article 34A for the rules of the road in the state of New York. In subsection A, you can see that the main reason is to guarantee the right to a full lane, even to a motorcycle, which only takes up about a third of the lane. But they also take care as to reiterate that twice. Up to two bikers can ride abreast, nice, of each other in the same lane. Really, it's all about cars being pricks and encroaching on your space on your bike. On the flip side, you, the biker, are not allowed to do that to cars. So when you pass a car, you have to observe the same signal, lane change, and then pass protocol even when you're passing a car, even though you would fit in the lane. Subsection B also technically states that you should observe the same protocol when you're passing a biker that you're riding abreast with, but really you should just let them know that you're passing and all is good if you use the same lane. Definitely let them know if they have no clue you even exist back there, like you're not riding with the person. Give them a heads up. Oh, and subsection E basically means that moto cops can do whatever the fuck they want. If they want to pull you over, they could pretty much split traffic and ride that bike into your left pocket if they want to. Now that's pretty simple, right? Like I said, we all lane share when we're riding with our buddies to an extent, and we all know how to do it safely. Some states apparently don't explicitly state that this is a legal action, so a cop could be a jerk about it, which is honestly nuts to me. But it's explicitly legal here in New York for two and only two riders to lane share, which is fine because who would ever ride three abreast? Have some class, people. Now, subsection C of this article of the New York Road Code does bring up an unfortunate fact. It states that no person shall operate a motorcycle between lanes of traffic or between adjacent lines or rows of vehicles. And there's no way to even dispute it, right? So let's break it down. No person, that means no person, shall operate a motorcycle between lanes of traffic. Traffic meaning vehicles doing anything on the road, waiting at a light, in motion, literally anything. Whatever those cars are doing, you can't ride in between. So let's suppose that this is a 4-lane road. You can't ride between the two lanes going your way in traffic. But on top of the lanes of traffic, it also says that no person shall operate a motorcycle between adjacent lines or rows of cars. Adjacent means next to. So since it's any two rows of vehicles next to each other, this also rules out parked cars. So essentially riding between the rightmost lane of traffic and the rows of parked cars next to them is also illegal. You know, that's why when I got doored that time, I just picked up my bike and went on my way, because legally, I'm in the wrong. Not that bitch. But it's pretty clear that in New York, any form of lane splitting and filtering is undisputedly illegal. But what's the difference between splitting and filtering? Well, generally it's the speed and the flow of the traffic involved. Lane splitting has become a catch-all term, but it's more so in the instance that where traffic is moving relatively freely and maintaining a decently high constant speed, but the biker is still traveling at a slightly higher speed between two lanes of traffic on the white line markings. Filtering can be defined as traffic moving very slowly or fully stopped, and the biker is moving along through the cars, perhaps with the goal of reaching in front of a red light intersection or to escape a gridlock situation, you know, just for example. These maneuvers are actually mutually exclusive of each other, and states like Utah and Oregon have moved closer to the direction of legal filtering, even though outright splitting remains illegal. Even then, states may strictly dictate whether it could be done between an active traffic lane and parked cars, or, you know, the max speed at which is allowed, etc. New York is one of those states where it's explicitly stated as illegal in any case, but some states aren't as explicit, and even though bikers are punished for doing so, law enforcement will usually have to cite other things related to the act of splitting or filtering. For example, a failure to maintain lane position, or hell, even reckless driving if they really want to get you. California is actually kind of funny, because lane splitting was only legally defined for the first time in California in August of 2016. The code says the following: lane splitting means driving a motorcycle that has two wheels in contact with the ground between rows of stopped or moving vehicles in the same lane, including on both divided and undivided streets, roads, or highways. Now, it was always legal, but it was never really fully defined. The purpose of this code was more so the second part of it, which states that the Department of California Highway Patrol may develop educational guidelines relating to lane splitting in a manner that would ensure the safety of the motorcyclists and the drivers and the passengers of surrounding vehicles. This is basically done to help everyone understand that lane splitting and filtering is indeed legal and how to do it safely. And folks would argue it's a safer method of travel, but some argue that it isn't, and I think both have fine points, but this is not really what this video is about. See, considering I live in New York, I'm more concerned with getting these things legal over here, but I'm not entirely as gung-ho about it as you might think. See, my 4.5 years on the road here are likely a very different experience compared to the typical California biker. Here's my average ride, right? Okay, I wake up, I walk outside my front door, I avoid all the people that want to talk to me about my bike, I wait for it to warm up because, well, my bike likes to idle at 5 RPM while it's cold for no reason. But then I make a series of rights and lefts from block to block at a maximum of like 40 miles per hour if there's no cars ahead of me. Light to light, short bursts. And my rides often don't even exceed 20 minutes unless I'm actively joyriding. I hit the highway so infrequently that sometimes I just jump on the highway because I want to exceed 7,000 RPMs when I'm bored. Without any exceptions, I could get anywhere I want in this city without touching a highway, and I usually do. But at the same time, the California highway system is a beast, and it just goes and goes and goes because, you know, Cali is a huge state. That goes without saying. As a biker, I can see the use of being able to split at 90 miles per hour through traffic moving at 75 miles per hour. Hell, maybe even faster. I know how you guys get down. But in New York City, a fast highway is 50 miles per hour. Hell, the West Side Highway in the city is 30 miles per hour. That's a 30 miles per hour road. Even though the citywide limit is 25. The highway is literally 5 miles per hour faster in this case. So you might as well go local because it's also a highway with stoplights. Other highways in the city tend to be very tight and windy because it's all a relatively small area. I'm rambling a bit here, but my ultimate point is that from my experience, I'm honestly more concerned with filtering getting legalized. In the same vein that Utah has done, or Oregon is on the way to doing. Now call me crazy, but I have no interest in traveling between cars at 50 miles per hour on our city highways. You know, I don't really, look to that much personally. But filtering when the traffic is stopped and creeping along, I'm all about it. Moving up to the front of the light to avoid dumb drivers behind me or to blast away from the light with the speed that no cell phone using driver could, I'm all about that. Especially when that heat come back around, Manhattan gridlock, let me just get around you, player. See, that's what I'm thinking about. And please, don't think that I'm ragging on lane splitters in NYC. I respect the flex, but generally speaking, if traffic is moving nicely, 9 times out of 10, I don't feel a need to split, like in the California context. Because if traffic is flowing nicely, then a cop is more likely to flick them lights on given that he has a hint of a chance to catch you, and you can't just be like, well, I didn't hear the siren. So here's the ideal situation. Somehow, some way, lane splitting in a broad sense gets legalized in New York City. In the same sense that it is in California. No gray area. Everything's laid out, and that's it. No interpretation, no bullshit. And it would be great because it would also legalize filtering in one fell swoop. Everyone gets what they want. And that's the best outcome. Second best situation, once again, we get the Utah approach, which is filtering is legal. But I want a fair outline on what constitutes filtering. You know, that way some donut-dusted cop can't be like, oh no, what you did there, that's lane splitting, right before he turns my license into toilet paper. See, that was topical what I did there. Anyway, with the Utah approach, I get what I want, which is funnily enough also acceptable, and honestly, more likely. But regardless of what it comes down to, how the law changes, how the boys react, and how the fines go up, or anything like that, knowing New York personally for 24 years of life, we gonna do this shit anyway. Alright, so thanks for leaving your topics on the comment section of that video. I poked a little bit of fun at the beginning, but honestly, I'm actually blasting through them and scripting out even the ones that I wouldn't have considered myself. I'm reading through all of them, so if you left a topic, it's very likely that I'll get to it at some point. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you learned something or had a laugh, leave a like. If you hated this video, leave a dislike. But either way, enjoy the rest of your day. You just watched The Illustrator. I'll see you on the next one.